All right, in my DMX, which controls all of our stage lighting and our house lighting, we've got on the desktop, we've got FBC Crossett saved here as a scene. And so all we have to do is open that. I also have the program here, but that program doesn't have anything loaded. You can go in there and then open this program, or you can just click on that. So, all right, here we are open, and you can see we've got all of our scenes over here on the side. It mimics the My DMX RM that is here in the rack. And you can see the first thing that pops up is our connected interface. So we'll start in express mode. And now we have control. We've turned it into an interface, and we have control of the lights. Okay, with the software. Now we can go into any one of these and edit it here in Edit. But before we do that, let's go up one and let's start from the beginning. Here's the Patch tab. In the Patch tab, you can see all of the fixtures, including these are all of our house light dimmer channels. And then here's our stage lights, and here's our color. Okay, these are our moving heads right here. Okay, so you can see all our figures. That's called the mapping. So they're all mapped out here in the right channels. And when we go down to Edit and go down to the bottom, you can see that we have we can drag these and put them in place. So we've put all of our stage fixtures here, and we've just put all of our house lights and things here on the end, including the moving heads and everything. We haven't arranged any of that yet. But you can arrange them so it basically looks like the room. Here at the bottom you see some tabs. There's single channel, and when I click that, all of our dimmer packs and everything pop up. There's our LB par hex. That's our stage lights. And now I can make some adjustments to them. And then here's our moving heads here. So, and our other moving heads. So let's, just for sake of example, let's go to the LB par hex, which are our theatrical stage lights. You can see they're outlined. They're flickering because they are turned on. If they're not turned on full, then they will flicker unless they're turned on full, but it just lets you know that they are active. And I can select all of them, and I've got intensity, and then I've got red, green, blue, amber, white, UV. I've got a shutter, which is basically just leaves it on full and shutters it in program. So these on the end are kind of probably never get used. Occasionally you may use UV in a skit or something like that. So intensity and color are our main ones. You can see that we've used amber and white to get the color temperature that we want. The mixture between those will give us the color temperature we want. So I'm adjusting all of them. So if I just click on one, now I'm just seeing one of them. And I can adjust the intensity there. And you can see right there in the middle of the choir where I'm adjusting it. I can just use that one fixture. And so if we go down, we'll go down to the single channel, and then we can basically, we've got up and down, because if I click on one, I can turn it up and turn it down, and that's pretty much the extent of it. Let's see. Okay, so that's, let's go back. I'll show you one more thing. On the LB par hex that we've got for the stage lights, I've got my faders, which is probably where you're going to live most of the time. But there's also a palette where you can move the color wheel around until you get the color exactly the way you want it. A little bit more of a fine tuning there. And then there are some effects that get used mostly in DJ scenarios. But okay, so that's the in the edit window. Once we get it the way we want it, if we want to run it in run the show in the software, we will go to the live button, and we can then click through them and change them that way. The show allows us to actually program and map this out for the app. There is an app that is web-based, so it'll work on any mobile device. but it'll allow you to play certain functions within that, and then when you bring that up on your phone, you have those functions available if you're on the same network. Okay, so how do we, if we make changes to our settings of our lights, how do we set that on the MyDMX RM and convert and shift that over there to there? So we will go to Tools, and you'll see the Hardware Manager. In the Hardware Manager, you can see that it comes up. It calls it the MyDMX3 rack, and if I click on it, then it shows us that everything here. Now I can erase it in here. I can update the firmware. I can do all kinds of things here. But if we're just going to be loading onto it, there's two steps that you need to be aware of. Way over here, I've got to be in the Edit button here to load. So if I'm in the Edit button and I come over here to this fourth little button on Triggers, and it says Edit Port Mapping. And if I click on that, well, first of all, I need to click on a scene, and then I can port map it. So I'll click on that button right there. Takes it a minute, and you see it comes up port triggering. That's basically what we're doing with this unit. And the device is the MyDMX3 rack, and you can see I've already got it on port 1. So that's correct. That's button 1 on the MyDMX rack. If I have multiple units, I can do the drop down and it'll show multiple units. And I should be able to, if I go to each one of these, I've already set it up so that these are already, and I can edit each one of these, but they are in order like the buttons. So I can, they already should be set up. If I go down through there, it'll show the port number associated with it. I can change that though, so be mindful of that. I can add more to it, so I'm only using 8 out of 15, 16 actually. So I can add to that, and then I'll just click on whatever the one that I've added and bring up the port triggering, and then select the device and then set it to 9, 10, and so on. Alright, so we'll just cancel here. So once the ports, the port triggering is mapped, we'll go to Tools, Standalone, because that's basically what we want to do. We want to make this standalone. And then we see this screen. So this is the show, meaning this is what we've got going on the software. And here's our device. You can see that we've got the same things here, except we don't have the blackout button, do we? So let's go over here and we'll click blackout. Let's see, or do I drag it? Yeah, I drag it over. So now I've got it on the device as well. And so what I can drag these actually back and forth as I add them. It'll show up here on the software, and I can drag them over to here. And OK. Just to make sure, we'll go to the blackout button since that wasn't on there and confirm that it is actually sent to port 8. And if it says address something, don't worry about that. It is not, so we will put it on port 8. Okay. Now we should be good to go, but let's go back now because we forgot a really important step. We've got it all on here. We're going to write it. Memory written successfully. Okay. And we should be good to go. I've got the USB cable just here in the front of the computer so that it can be disconnected, and as soon as it's disconnected, the MyDMX RM takes over. Let's see. Yes. All right. So that's MyDMX RM in its simplest, and there are plenty of layers within that, but that's in its simplest form there.